Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be virtually with you today and presenting the Butler Did It, how to host a great murder mystery at your library. So thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to have some fun today. So just a short introduction about myself. My name's Andrea Johnston. I'm the Community Outreach and Program Librarian at the Cochrane Public Library, and I've been here for 4 years. And just to add some street cred to this presentation, these are the murder mysteries that I've participated in or I've planned. So the first murder mystery I actually took part in was during grad school when I was learning to be a librarian. Our Halloween event was a 1920s themed murder at the juice joint, and I was actually the murderer that night, so that was a lot of fun. The next year, I was the social convener, and I planned a pirate-themed murder mystery called Murder Among the Mateys. And then here at the Cochrane Public Library, I have planned and put on Murder at the Deadwood Saloon. That's a Western themed one, which made sense for us being here in Cochrane, Alberta. And then a Halloween one called Terror in Transylvania. So that's just a little bit of expertise of the murder mysteries that I've planned. So why should you host a murder mystery? I thought I'd go over this because some of you may be unsure, and there's lots of really, really fantastic reasons why you should host one of these events. This is such a great way to get people up and talking to one another. So it's great for an icebreaker, networking, community building. It gives everyone a good reason to get up and mingle and talk to one another. So it's so fabulous for building new friendships and also partnership opportunities. We partnered with our local brewery, Half Hitch, to put on our last 2 murder mystery parties. So they provided us with their fantastic beer, and we promoted their business. Another reason to run these is that they're absolutely hysterical. I'm going to share some stories with you later on. They're so funny. They're so much fun. And one of my favorite parts of murder mysteries is seeing all the brilliant costumes that come through the door. So this picture here is from Murder at the Deadwood Saloon, and the lady that's smiling there in the red dress, she actually won best costume that night because she looked fabulous. So those are just some reasons why you should really consider hosting a murder mystery. So how do you choose your mystery? There are a bunch of companies out there that sell murder mystery packages. The one that I've gone with for all the murder mysteries that I've done is nightofmystery.com. They have very thorough packages that give you absolutely everything you need to host a really great party. They also have lots of categories that help you narrow it down. And I took a screenshot here of their website. So as you can see, there's adult, all female, all male, clean, LGBT categories, escape rooms, kids, teens, so on and so forth. So they really help you narrow it down, or you can just scroll through all the mysteries to find one that you like. But of course, they're not the only company, but I will be using them as an example for the rest of this presentation. But there are a couple that I found that are quite interesting. So the first one is mymysteryparty.com. These guys have tons of themes, like even more than the nightofmystery.com. They have a ton. They also have a service that will create a box set for you. So if you don't want to print things off and try and organize it, they'll actually do it for you. So you can contact them, say, this is the theme I want, this is how many guests, and they'll put everything together in a box. They'll print it all off for you, and they'll mail it to you, which is kind of cool. Their prices seem a little less expensive than Night of Mystery, but there were also, once I dug a little bit, they also add things on for more money. So for example, they'll charge you $5 for prize certificates. So I think it could add up. They might still be a little more cost effective. And they also have a full page dedicated to props and decorations that you can purchase directly from their company. So it's a really good one-stop shop. So that's mymysteryparty.com. The other one I found is playingwithmurder.com. They have some really good themes and categories. And what is really unique about them, and I'm actually quite interested in trying these guys out, in their mysteries, they have multiple puzzles that the characters have to figure out, and they also have multiple events in that mystery. So what I mean by event, a murder mystery party, the main event is the murder itself. But these guys, playingwithmurder.com, have numerous ones. So it really keeps everybody on their toes, it keeps everybody guessing, and it really keeps everybody involved. I haven't tried them yet, but it sounds really awesome. And they also offer 30-minute mysteries. These are quick, no prep mysteries for meant to be put on with like huge groups or sit-down functions. They don't have to be, but that's what they're really geared towards. So they're scripted games where players will actually share information with the entire group at one time. They're good for all ages, and it might be a really good option for a seniors group. They don't have to get up, they don't have to move around. Everything is just laid out in front of them. So again, I thought that was really cool, really unique. So that might be a good option for you to check out if you're interested in a murder mystery night. Okay, so you've chosen your theme, you're ready to go. Let's talk about how you register your guests. So I took a screenshot of nightofmystery.com on the purchasing screen. And I always recommend that you get an idea of the number of guests you're going to have before you purchase the full mystery. The higher the guest count, the more expensive it's going to be. And as you can see, nightofmystery.com and the other companies I listed, all their prices are in US. So just keep that in mind. So on the purchasing screen, you will have to choose an option for ages. So where it says adult at the top. Some of them will have a teen option, or they'll just have the clean version. Not that any of them are really like mature, but they might talk about more mature topics, if that makes sense. So you have to choose an option for ages, or if you want the clean version, then you have to choose how many guests you want. It can go up to 80 people for an in-person party. And then this last line here where it says virtual, all these companies now have virtual murder mystery options because of the pandemic, which is kind of cool. And they have it catered so you can host a murder mystery over Zoom. So anyway, once you have that all filled out, then you pay. And then what we did, we just made an online registration form, which of course, as we all know, you can limit it to how many are going to be at your evening. So we went big, we went for the big package. So we kept it open to a bunch of people. But if you want to start out small, you can of course limit it to just 12 guests, and then just, like I say, limit your registration form. So let's talk about assigning characters. Once you have everybody registered, they all need a character before the night of. And unless you know exactly who's coming to your party, and even if you do know them, I think the best way to handle assigning characters is to not assign them at all. So once you purchase the mystery, they'll send you a big PDF document that you can download. You're going to look through it for the character sheet. This is a very simple sheet. It breaks down each character with their suggested gender. A lot of them are unisex, and they'll have a little bit about each character, including like should be an outgoing personality. So you're going to want to have this ready at your front desk so participants can read through them and pick a character. So that's what we do. We have them register online, and then we'll either contact them like through email saying you can now come and pick up a character sheet, or you can put it on your registration form starting June 1st, you can come to the library to choose a character. So once they come to the library, staff are ready to go. They have the character sheet ready, so you just hand it to the participant. They read through, and then they pick their character. So they can sign their name, or you can just put a check mark beside it. Then staff will give them their character packages. So these need to be made beforehand, and don't worry, Night of Mystery walks you through exactly what needs to be in these packages. So don't worry if you don't take notes here or whatever, they'll walk you through it. But anyway, in the character packages, you'll put in a detailed character sheet, which will have that character's backstory, what relationships they have with other characters, and a motivation for attending the night. So for each murder mystery, they have a reason for bringing everybody together. So for the Deadwood Saloon, it was a poker tournament inviting everybody to come down and try and win lots of money. For the Murder in Transylvania murder mystery, it's Dracula's 500th birthday. So that's the reason why all these monsters are gathering. So in their character package, they'll have a motivation for coming that night. They'll also have an invitation, which you can customize with your party details and your contact information. Super easy to do. And sometimes they'll have another item of note. For the Deadwood Saloon, it was a newspaper clipping. And again, the package walks you through all that, but they have to be ready when people are coming to pick their characters. So once they pick their character, they check it off the character sheet, and then they get their full character package. So they can go home, review it, and then plan their costume. So let's actually talk about how the evening runs. Like how does it work, starting from when they walk through the door to the end. So at the beginning of the evening, I have a table right out front. This is kind of their check-in table. Everybody needs a name tag. This is really crucial, so people actually know who they need to go around and talk to. Every character will also get 2 envelopes. Envelope A, that they need to read right away, and envelope B for after the murder. And it'll say it on the envelope which is which. Again, this will have to be prepared beforehand, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So envelope A will contain the character's objective sheet. This lists who the characters need to talk to, what objectives they need to complete, and whether or not they're the victim. They'll also have some play money, because characters will actually go around and like bribe each other or buy information off each other. So they'll have a little stack of play money. Envelope B, as I said, is for after the murder. This has a second set of objectives, and it'll also reveal who the murderer is. So when guests come into the party, nobody knows who the killer is, not even the person who's ultimately going to be the killer. You only find out after the lights go out and you open your second envelope. It says right at the top, you are the murderer. So it's really exciting, actually. So once everyone has arrived, one character will have a script that they read off of. And this gentleman here in the black hat, his character was the owner of the saloon. And so he welcomed everybody that evening. And they welcome everybody, and they also advise them to keep their eyes and ears open for things they might learn throughout the evening. Then that's when everybody starts mingling and doing their objectives. And typically, the victim will signal the host once their objectives have been completed. And don't worry, in envelope A, it'll say you are the victim, and it'll actually say let the host know when you've completed your objectives, because it's really important that the victim gets everything that they need to get done beforehand, obviously, before the big event happens. So once the victim signals the host, like, yeah, we're all good to go, out go the lights and gunshots are heard. It's very exciting. Every time I've done it, people always gasp. It's super fun. So the lights come back on and the victim is lying there and everybody gasps and oh my goodness. So then this is when another character will step in. This is usually like the sheriff or the detective character, and they'll have a script to read from, debriefing everyone of the situation and telling them that they'll be making the rounds and asking for information on helping to solve the murder. Certain characters will actually have pieces of envelope in their envelope Bs, and they'll share them with the detective or the sheriff as needed. So once all the evidence has been collected, the sheriff will gather everyone together and make another speech, which again is scripted, about what was found. So, you know, evidence A, evidence B, blah, 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 blah. Then they will ask everyone to vote on who they think killed the victim. So this is the evidence review. And then there'll be a voting period. And this is also the time when other characters vote on who is best dressed, who is the best character, and they'll also write down how much money they have at the end of the night, which is also another award. It's the Moneybags Award. Once the votes are all in and tabulated, the murderer is revealed in a final speech. Again, it's scripted, and then the prizes are awarded. So that's just a really quick and dirty explanation of how the night actually runs. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the larger parties. We've done large parties for both our events here at the library. So that means over 20 people. So a consideration about that is that not everyone is going to have a main character role. And there are some pros and cons with this. So the pros, there are some people who are a little shy, and a secondary character may really appeal to them because this guarantees that they won't be the victim and they won't be the murderer. But they'll all have objectives. So even if they're a secondary character, everyone still has a part to play and will be part of this story. So it's not like even if they're a secondary character, they'll just be sitting and watching. Not at all. They still have to go out and talk to people, gather information. And actually this photo here is a perfect example. So this lovely lady here, she's a secondary character. So I think for Deadwood Saloon, the secondary characters were like Saloon Girl A, Cowboy B, you know, just general characters like that. But anyway, so she's a secondary character. Oh my God, she was hilarious. She was sneaking off with people and whispering and conferring with them, getting a ton of money off of everybody. I think she won the Moneybags Award. She had like a stack of bills at the end of the night that was like an inch thick. So she had a fabulous time. Even though she didn't have like one of the main character roles, she was a secondary character. She loved it and she really made it her own. So that's a perfect example. However, one of the cons about having a large party is that it may cast the illusion that it's okay if someone doesn't show up, which can cause a problem. Now, the information package you get once you buy a murder mystery, it will advise you what characters can be missing for the mystery to continue. It'll actually say, if you don't have the Grim Reaper, just go ahead as normal. However, it is really, 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 really important that you include on your registration page or in any of the emails you send to attendees that they must let you know ASAP if they can't attend, if they're sick or anything like that, so that you can reassign characters or push it out on social media, or even grab a secondary character and ask them to jump into one of the main roles. So just make sure that you advise participants that they have to let you know if they can no longer attend, just so you're not running around at the last minute. So how do you prepare for the big night? Of course you want to have decorations, and I don't have like close-up pictures of the decorations that we use. You can kind of see them in the background of some of these pictures. So Murder at the Deadwood Saloon actually included a bunch of decorations in the information package, which was fantastic. Like they had wanted posters and signs up, like "Welcome to the Deadwood Saloon." With the Murder in Transylvania, they didn't, but that's okay, not a big deal. They do have a page where they have DIYs on making your own decorations, which is pretty awesome. So you can make your own. I made a happy 500th birthday banner just using, I think it was like Publisher or something like that. So it's really easy to make your own. Dollarama, of course, is a great resource. So you absolutely want to have some decorations to help set the mood. And of course, what helps set the mood is some really good music. Nightofmystery.com sometimes has links to music. Like I know for the Deadwood Saloon, they actually had a link to like old-timey piano music, which was fabulous, which we had playing. Marigold has some really great playlists, so check them out. And they're awesome and free. And of course, like YouTube, Spotify, all that good stuff. You want to have a cap gun on hand, and you want to test that cap gun beforehand. Because sometimes, I don't know, the caps don't line up and it doesn't fire right away. So you want to have your cap gun ready to go when you hit the lights. So have it on hand and test it before. You're going to want a bunch of pens. You're going to want a box to keep all the votes in when people are submitting their votes. We always put light refreshments out because it's a good way to encourage people to mingle and hang out. If you are going to be serving alcohol, of course, you want the proper permits. We did, and it was after hours, so it was pretty easy to get. You'll want your character envelopes prepared beforehand. And like I said, Night of Mystery walks you through it. They'll tell you, you know, the witch needs a copy of evidence piece A. This is everything that needs to go in all envelope A's. This is everything that needs to go in all envelope B's. So those need to be ready to go and on hand and labeled before everybody arrives. And what was awesome with Night Terror in Transylvania is they actually included a template for printable labels. So we just used Avery labels. We printed them off, and it was so easy to label envelope A, envelope B. It was really great. You're also going to want to have multiple copies of all the evidence, especially with a bigger party, so that once the detective announces all the evidence, you have extra copies on hand, so people can break out into groups of 4 or 5 to make it easier for them to review and figure out who they think the murderer is. You'll also want prizes. The package that they send you has certificates ready to go, and you can customize them with names. Don't put the names in too early, obviously, because you won't know who wins them until the end of the night. So have a Sharpie on hand to fill in the names. This is optional, the trophies. I included trophies for the Terran Transylvania party. They were just Halloween themed goblets, and I put some um, chocolate bars in them, just as like a little prize, like well done, you were the drama queen award, you were the best actor tonight. So you don't have to because you have the certificates on hand, but it might be a nice little touch depending on your budget, of course. So that's everything you need to have ready to go for the big night. Okay, so we of course learned some lessons doing these murder mysteries, and the first one is how to handle no-shows, which has happened to us. The biggest lesson that we learned is don't panic. So one of the benefits of having a large party with secondary characters is that if you do have a no-show, you can ask one of the secondary characters to step in. In the case of the Deadwood Saloon murder mystery, we actually had 3 people not show up. But it was okay because we had a couple not show up, and this couple who were secondary characters stepped in, which was fabulous. And this young lady in the picture above on the left, she has the glasses and she's smiling. She was a secondary character, but our detective didn't show up. So I ran over and I asked her, hey, would you be okay stepping in as the detective? And she's like, well, I'm a little shy, but I'll try. And she was so wonderful at it. And she had a lot of fun doing it. So God bless her. She was really great. And when all else fails, you can guilt your fiance to help you out, like I had to do for my Transylvania party. He's the one in the wolf mask on the right. By the day of the murder mystery, we still didn't have anyone who has fangs. So so poor Cam had to step up, and sure enough, he was the victim. Both murder mysteries that he's participated in, he's the victim. But he did really well too. He was going around to all the characters and they'd be asking him, hey, do you have any information about Frankenstein? And he's like, oh, well, I might, but you have to grease the paw. And he'd hold out his hand. And so the other character would like, oh, okay, fine, here's $50. So what information do you know? And Cam would just reply, oh, I don't have any information about that, but thanks for the $50, and would walk away. It was so funny. He actually ended up with a ton of money right before he died, but then the Grim Reaper, who was the detective, had it on their objective sheets to steal his money. I don't know why, but so he had the most money, but it got stolen. It was really hilarious. The other thing about no shows, not to panic, the info package, like I said, will tell you you can live without this character, you can live without that character. So hopefully, if you have a no show, it's one of those characters that you can live without. So another lesson we learned is there's a lot of hurry up and wait the night of, but this is not a bad thing at all. So at the start of the party, it'll be very busy as you're handing out character envelopes, you're handing out scripts for welcome speeches, the name tags, things like that. Once people start to mingle and complete their first objectives, it'll calm down a bit, but you'll still need to be ready to hit the lights and fire the cap gun for the murder. And try not to make it too obvious because you do want it to be a surprise. After the murder happens, it's going to get busy again because you're going to hand out crime scene supplies, more speeches, and you're going to get everyone to open and read their second envelope where the murderer will find out who they are. Ooh. So then there'll be some more mingling. So again, it'll be a little quiet. But then once everybody completes their second set of objectives, you're going to be busy again, handing out multiple copies of evidence so everyone can review them and make their votes. And you'll be handing out ballots for the votes with pens and then you'll be counting them as they come in. And I highly, highly, highly recommend you count them as they come in, because it gets pretty busy, and you'll want to make sure you have everything tabulated. So the prizes are for best detective, so anyone who actually guessed the right character for the murderer, best dressed, best actor, and most money gained. And then you'll be awarding the prizes at the end. But it's not all bad, some of the downtime, because it gives you a chance to take photos and absolutely hilarious things can happen. So, so I have a story about the murder at Deadwood Saloon that was so funny. It was just unbelievable. So the lady here in the middle photo, she was an outlaw. She was one of the outlaw characters. And I had posters up, wanted posters for her, wanted, Calamity Jane or whatever. So the party had started, people were starting to mingle, and I turn around and I see her pulling off her wanted posters off the window. So the sheriff, which you can see on the right hand photo here with the star on his shirt, he's standing with the handlebar mustache. He found out what she was doing, and he took a pair of plastic handcuffs and handcuffed her to the chair, which you can kind of see in the second photo. So she's handcuffed and she's like, "Hey, what's going on? Let me out." And in the left photo here, that gentleman with the black hat who's putting on, he's pulling up his sock, he was the other outlaw. So he actually snuck over and let her go, and they started like sneaking away into the stacks, but the sheriff noticed, so out came the cap guns, because all the characters brought cap guns because it was a Western themed mystery, and an impromptu gunfight broke out in between the stacks. It was hilarious. Oh my God, it was so funny. So even though there might be some downtime where you're not doing much, just take it all in, because really, really funny things can happen, like our gunfight. So another lesson learned, make sure you're clear with the time limits of the event, when it starts and when it ends. This is especially important if you're hosting a party after hours, which is what we did, and you have staff that are going to be working late. So really, really important. You don't want anybody staying over their scheduled time. But it's also important for your guests, because they need things like babysitters. They may need to arrange rides, especially if you're going to be serving alcohol, or they may even want to make dinner reservations. A huge group signed up for our Deadwood Saloon party, and they wanted to make reservations at Half Hitch afterwards. So they even called us up and said, "Are you sure the party's going to end at 8:30? We're making dinner reservations." So really important, be clear with the time limits of the event. So here are our two victims. There's Cam on the right, and then our other victim on the left. So another lesson learned is be clear with your starting time. So like I said at the beginning of the event, one character is going to be in charge of welcoming everyone to the party or the poker tournament or whatever the scenario is for that murder mystery. The information package is going to have that script, and it includes vital information that everyone needs to hear before they start mingling. So it's really important that your guests understand when you're starting, and that they have contact information for you, so they can call you if they're running late. So then you can kind of hold off getting your host to make that speech. And this is also important for you, that you don't reassign characters too soon, which happened to me at Murder in Transylvania. We had two people who were running late. I decided to reassign their characters because it was like 15 minutes after our starting time, and then they showed up. So everyone understood it was okay, but you want to avoid that as much as possible. And you can let people know if you're going to run late, please call us at blah, blah, blah. This is also important, keeping the evening on track time-wise. So like I said, those time limits are important. Make sure that starting time is, everybody understands that, really important. The last lesson we learned is that people absolutely loved these events. And as you can see in the picture, that's all the money that that our saloon girl made, the one who's a secondary character. That's how much money she made that night. So funny. But anyway, people absolutely loved these events. The first murder mystery we ran, the Deadwood Saloon, we received so much wonderful feedback with everyone wanting to do another one really soon. And actually at our Halloween event, Terror in Transylvania, there was a group of, I think it was around 8 adults that actually made friends with each other. They went out to the bar afterwards. They stayed out really late. And since that evening, they've gotten together every single month for board games night because they found people who had like interests in mind. And I'm sure like the pandemic has kind of put a crimp on their games night, but they made new friends in the community, which is so fabulous that people are building relationships from library programs, and isn't that what it's all about? So people loved it. They had a great time, and they just want us to do more and more and more, which was great. So that's it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And I also put my contact information there if you think of something afterwards that you want to ask me about. But yeah, happy to take questions, and thank you all so much for listening.